the station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to Freedom Chat, where real Americans speak their minds. And no topic is off limits. No scripts, no judgment, just honest conversation, raw, unfiltered, and free. If you're ready to challenge the narrative and celebrate true freedom, you're in the right place. This is Freedom Chat.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I had a fight with my garage door. And it's because my son stacks crap, and I'm gonna have him get it reorganized so that the laser eyes that let you know that you're not blocking. Yeah, I had to clear some out. So I got a little cut on my hand. That's all right. We'll forge forward. All right. For those of you who were watching over the past 2 weeks, I will speak only for myself. I was hoping that Lucas would stay on and that we would have continuing conversations and that we would continue to maybe potentially learn from each other. However, Lucas sent me an email that countered that. So I have decided, and I've talked with both my mom, Phyllis, and Danny, that we're going to go through we're going to go through these two emails that he sent. The first one where he introduced himself and then basically told us that our show didn't have a place with MBR Radio. This is stuff that I didn't even discuss with him because once he was on the show, I wanted to make sure that he felt welcome and that his accusation of us being strictly an echo chamber for conservative movement was in fact false. Well, it was in fact false. We did have him come on. He did have countering views. He did exactly what a leftist will do every single time, try to throw a bunch of numbers out that are biased in one direction. And you know, I'm going to go ahead and say this, Dennis and Mom, you can agree with me or not, but we're back to being an echo chamber. So the echo chamber has in fact returned, and we're just going to forge ahead until the next leftist wants to jump on and first complain about us, because that's what they do first.
There's no echo in here.
Right, something like that. And then go from there. So, Mom, I want to get your take on this first, and then we're going to go through the email. We're going to hit these points about the echo chamber, the talking points, and all that crap. So I'm gonna
popping in and out.
I'm gonna give you the floor. So you're now the only person that's on the screen.
Lovely.
I know, awesome, huh?
Okay. I thought it was interesting having Lucas on. What I also saw was that he may have think that we're an echo chamber, but everything that he said was straight from ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN echo chamber. There wasn't anything that was slightly centered,
right?
So to speak.
Dennis, I'm going to put you on.
anti
Right.
there.
So I'm
That's
going to
what
turn
I
it
say.
over. I'm going to turn it over to Dennis for a second.
Yeah, I agree with what Phyllis said. I mean, there wasn't anything new that I learned, and I think we've discussed it already about the numbers, quote unquote, and statistics. Those are all one-sided. I think everybody can agree with that. Those were coming from the mainstream media numbers, and quite frankly, they're skewed on purpose.
Yeah.
To be a one-way street.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree.
Now I'm going to ask you both. If he comes back on, he's welcome to come back on, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it was nice having somebody else on, but I could see that he was not going to vary from the DNC party line,
Right.
so to speak.
Right. Okay. So here's what's funny about this, and we're going to go ahead and tackle it later on in the show, because we're going to go through the emails, and one of the contention points that he sent when he sent the last email was about genocide. So we are going to cover genocide, and we're going to have an open conversation about genocide, and we're going to do it in a way that is logical, if you want to call it that. All right.
I've got a tidbit for that when we get to it.
I'm glad you do, because I'm telling you, I haven't even done the full-on research about what I want to talk about, but I have a feeling that you kind of covered it, and Mom and I've talked about it more than once this past week. So we're going to start with the echo chamber that he accused us of having without true back and forth dialogue. My opinion is very simple. What do you expect when you have people that have the same mindset and have share the same viewpoints?
Right.
That's my take. I'm going to ask you guys both to give me your take, and we'll start with Dennis, because I started with Mom last time. So Dennis is up first.
Well, yeah, you just said it. There's really not a whole lot else to define that other than like a political echo chamber is basically when you have everyone in that room or whatever agreeing for the most part about all the same things, all the same topics. There's really nothing else you can call it, and I don't really see any problem with it being called that, because okay, that's what it is, but so what? We're all in agreement. The echo chamber could be on the other side as well, which it is.
Mom, you're up.
It's definitely an echo chamber because mostly we have the same viewpoints, but we can argue about it or bring up different points of view without attacking each other, which is what I see whenever I talk to, or when I used to try to talk to people on the left side. They don't hold a conversation. They attack you with cursing or blatant lies, calling you names, that sort of thing. And I prefer not to do that, but it's really easy to fall into that trap, which is what they would like to do, is get you to fall into the same trap. So the echo chamber goes both ways.
Right. And okay, so I'm not going to put myself center stage simply because I'm trying to make this more about you guys and your input. Hey, I will say this. He wasn't he was civil. His statements were false, especially the one about Trump lying. We'll get into that in an email or from his email about the dishonesty of the current president, and we'll even talk about my response to that if you want. I really don't want to. I really want you guys to respond to those things. But my feeling is exactly the same as your guys's. Hence the echo chamber. Be decent to each other. You don't have to agree. In fact, we'd prefer it if we didn't completely agree all the time, because the conversations get boring, and we've got plenty to talk about that is not boring, because the world has provided us with plenty of entertainment value to discuss. In fact, this week has been no different. The government shutdown, and I don't want to get into the government shutdown. I know it's current, but the reason that I want to talk about things like genocide is because of and I know, Dennis, I'm going to steal your thunder for a second, maybe. The fact that Trump is one step closer to actual peace in the Middle East, in between in the Gaza area, is nothing short of miraculous. But we're going to get into that because that is a part of the genocide conversation, primarily because of the accusation of Israelis committing genocide in the Gaza Strip. So let's get started here. Freedom at its best and authentic in this great nation is rooted in diversity of thought and open dialogue. What I hear on Freedom Chat instead is narrow-minded, self-reinforcing MAGA and Christian nationalist dogma. Okay. And then he also said this does not represent the majority of Americans. So we're going to start with Mom's response to that statement, and then I'm going to give it to Dennis.
I guess that I don't know if we reflect the majority of Americans or not, but I think we're a lot closer now than what we have been. From what I can see, the mainstream America is going back to actual values, whereas the left wing is pulling further and further away from actual values, as in religion and or morals having a place in our lives.
Right.
That's what I think on that.
Okay. But what do you say to someone who makes an accusation? Now, keep in mind, he has only been a part of the network for like 7 weeks, and he jumps on our podcast and complains about it the day we're talking about Charlie Kirk and what creates an environment that causes a person to justify killing another person and how that works. I would say we weren't being narrow-minded. I would say that we were actually tackling something that is really important to tackle. I'm going to turn that part of this over to Dennis. Well,
I explained it to him, when we were talking about Christian nationals, that's a bad word. I mean, not to me, it's not.
Right.
I'm a Christian, and I love my country. So that
Right.
makes me a nationalist, right? So put those two words together. I'm a Christian nationalist. So what?
Right.
Why is that? They make it sound like it's some kind of dirty word. Get the hell out of here with that.
Right. And I agree with you on that. I want to kind of, what I find funny about it is he called it dogma. And then when we brought up the fact that we've not once brought up Christianity other than, believing in God and believing in Christ,
Right.
He turned it, and of course I brought up historically. of the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, part of their own constitutions, the state constitutions, were based around Christian ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that just has to be recognized. I think that they conveniently omit the fact that the original people who came to this land from Europe came so that they could have religious freedom. Well, part of having religious freedom is whether you agree with it or whether you don't, you still get to believe in it. He literally made it as if what we were talking about was evil. And
Right.
it was based on dogmatic approach. And I don't agree with it. And I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with him on this also. This does not represent the majority of America. It does not reflect on a broad range of voices within the military community. My question to Lucas, as I pull this all together, have you done an actual survey? Because I haven't done a survey on that, and I'm not willing to make a statement of fact over something that I don't know for sure. Mom, have you done a survey as to whether or not military people believe in Christian dogma?
I haven't seen anything about
Okay.
that, but I from what I've seen of Hegseth, he's changing the military back to what it should be.
Which is warriorship, right? Isn't that what we're
Yeah,
supposed to be?
warrior,
With military warriorship, right?
And to believe in the code of being a warrior, as in respect and honor, and probably a belief in after. Hegseth is a Christian for sure.
Yeah.
He believes in marriage. He's the epitome of a Christian warrior, I would say.
Agreed. All right, let's
I don't
let's
know.
do a,
Other than that,
let's do a quick break. Let's do a quick break and we'll get back into
Okay.
the email.
Those are cool tats, man.
Oh, for real. Thank you, bro. You see the Cobra?
And what is this one?
Oh, this?
Uh-huh.
That's my credo. No regrets.
You have no regrets?
Dad?
Nope.
Like not even a single letter?
No way. Not me.
Well, I love him. I think he's great.
Okay.
I think he's a real winner, Casey. If I were you, I wouldn't use protection.
No way, not me.
I'm sorry, Mom. That thing just never gets old. My mom's sitting there going, for being mature, you're pretty damn immature.
He's probably like these two guys, I swear.
All right, into the next part of the email. I can obviously only speak for myself and personally feel that your content is a bad look for MBR, which leads me to ask a $1 million question. Do I criticize your show? Do I say, you know what, board games are a bad look on MBR? No. Why? Because I'm a firm believer that we all have a voice and our voices are all unique. And because our voices are all unique, they should be. This is a chance for us to talk. Me as a veteran, you guys as my family members and my friend, this is a chance for us to speak about what is affecting us and affecting what we believe is affecting our country. I don't jump on anybody else's show. Number one, I don't watch anybody else's show. I don't believe that Dennis does, and I know Mom doesn't. And if I were, I would not tell that person or persons how to run or operate their show. And he literally was doing that. That statement right there was literally,
Mark, it looks like we lost you guys.
hey, and if I've lost a few, I don't care. I'm not. If they want to come on and if they want to request to come on, they are welcome to come on. If they want to give us their viewpoint, I am not. We've never been against that. In fact, we've always encouraged it. When I post the link, I post it to about 6 or 7 different people, and then I post it publicly, and then I share it publicly. So nobody can say that they don't know that it's going on because I do this every single weekend.
Well, Mark, you know what? I'm not a big fan of board games, so why would I watch your show?
Right. I love chess.
I'm not saying that his show is bad or good or whatever. I'm indifferent to that.
Right.
I'm just saying, me personally, in my opinion, board games are kind of boring.
Right.
It's not something I'm into.
Eh.
So I probably would never watch that show.
Right. And at the same time, if you were to watch it, you wouldn't send an email or complain to somebody else. You
Of
would
course
simply
not.
say, you know what, they say my cup of tea, I ain't going to watch it no more.
Of course not. I'd watch 5 minutes of it and
And
shut
be
it
done.
off.
Right. Okay. Here's continuing on this little paragraph. In fact, your disparaging remarks about LGBTQ plus and your blatantly inaccurate smears of anyone outside your narrow-minded conservative political bubble are downright offensive, divisive, and completely unnecessary. Okay, can I address that?
Please.
Okay. I have nothing against anybody in any of those communities. My sister-in-law is gay. I have friends who are gay. I have at least 2 people that I know that have gone down that road of gender dysphoria, which is what it is. And I invited him, Lucas, to watch the interview with the Hodge twins and Blair White.
Yeah.
Blair White is a dude. Blair
Yeah.
White does not look like a dude. He looks like a girl. He
He's a
looks like
good looking dude.
a girl. Right. But when you watch that interview, you realize that that is someone who is rational. This is what they suffer from. It is not an irrational statement that Blair White makes in any way, shape, or form. And for him to make a blanket statement like that about what we're talking, what we don't like is what people like Blair White doesn't like. Don't push it down children's throats. Until you get to be the age of 18 years old, it has nowhere outside of a therapist talking to you about it. Anywhere in the classrooms, in the schools, but that's where it's been for the past almost 8 years. Longer if you really want to get knee deep in it. But it really exposed itself during COVID because it allowed them to basically operate unchecked. Now, I'm going to turn that part of it. That's my take. I support people like Blair White. I support people like my coworker. I support people like my daughter's friend. If that is what they want to do, I don't want any children being exposed to it in an inappropriate manner. And that's my position. And it's not narrow-minded, and it's not nasty, and it's not a smear. It's just not. I mean, I don't know how else to put. I don't care. I don't know how else to do it. If you guys can help me communicate it a little bit better, then please, by all means. What do I need to do to communicate it better? Is the question.
As far as I'm concerned, personally, I don't care what your sexual orientation. I don't really care. It's not my business. Do what you want. But whenever you start going after the children and trying to get them interested in it whenever they are just kind of mixed up teenagers, that's wrong, and that needs to be stopped. Has nothing to do with whether or not they are going to end up gay or lesbian or whatever. It has to do with its natural progression of growth needs to be allowed to continue
Right.
through their puberty and growth.
Okay,
That's my take.
And I want to
Stop
reiterate,
calling-
Mom, I want to reiterate that when you're talking also about the teens, the middle school, the high school, that's one side of it. But I'm talking about specifically the grade school, the young kids that it is that are exposed to it. That's indefensible. It has no place in it. Dennis, I don't know about you, but when I was in second, third, fourth grade, I was still trying to figure out if Elmer's glue tasted good.
Yeah, and dirt.
And dirt. So how in the hell are we supposed to know about our sexuality when we can't even figure out whether Elmer's glue or dirt tastes good?
Well, I could tell you from experience. I mean, in second grade, I didn't really feel like I was supposed to be a girl. I mean, that never even crossed my mind ever.
Correct. All right. Moving on.
You know what? I got two things on that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. In the Blair White.
Yeah.
In that, speaking of that, there's also another. There's an advocate named Scott Nugent, who's actually a female who transitioned completely and regrets it wholeheartedly. She has, I think, 3 kids, but transitioned later, but regrets it completely, wholeheartedly now, and is an advocate for not letting young people, specifically under the age of 18, do that to their bodies. Scott Nugent. So look that up. And she actually, well, she, I'm not sure. I'm going to call him a she because that's what she was when she was born.
Right.
State of California has a House bill that just, I don't know if it's passed or they're still fighting for it, but it's SB 1414, state bill. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But it's the same thing that Colorado did. They're expressing their opposition that proposes making the purchase of a child for sex a felony. They're opposing that.
Yeah.
They're claiming that the bill is overly punitive and does not address the root causes of the problem. Claiming it will not effectively reduce sexual violence.
Right.
Which is complete BS because you make it a felony.
Yeah, because we've seen it.
Yeah, so there's that going on too in California. Same crap. Same Democrat left-leaning bullshit crap. Sorry.
No, it's good. All right. Here's his next statement. And keep in mind, this is the very first email we got from him, and we've only gotten 2. I understand you're pursuing a niche market that thrives on political anger. Can I ask you guys a question? This is a simple yes or no. Have we ever been angry? We've only been angry once that I can remember, and that was over the young girl from Ukraine being murdered and the mainstream media trying to twist it into it being her fault and not the criminals and, more importantly, the court system's fault. That was what we were angry about. But we really don't come from a position of anger. I would say we come from a position of passion
and concern.
And concern. And I think it can be easily confused. I remember, Mom, I know you remember Jimmy Klipka always having this conversation with me. You always seem so angry. No, it's not. I'm not coming from a position of anger. I'm coming from a position of loving my country. And that's where I'm coming from, right? So I'm just going to answer that one and ask you, yes or no. Are we pursuing an anger niche? I don't believe we are. Mom?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. He goes on with this by only speaking to MAGA, you alienate listeners who may actually expect meaningful engagement, honest debate, and perspective that challenge rather than necessarily parrot divisive conservative rhetoric. Now, I'm going to let my mom talk about divisive conservative rhetoric simply because she watches Fox News a lot more than I do, and I'm sure Dennis can speak to this too. The question that I'm going to ask about that statement is, well, first of all, have we or have we not openly invited anybody who doesn't agree with us to come on and debate us? Okay, well, then his
asked many times.
So his statement of us just doing what we're doing is ignorant. So I just called him ignorant. Mom, do we parrot divisive rhetoric or do we parrot pro-America rhetoric?
I guess if you're in a left-wing echo chamber, what we're doing is to come back to a center point and be sane again. And we want things like Antifa actually condemned and the rule of law to come back into force, as President Trump is trying to do. Should have been done years ago, but unfortunately, we know who was in the Oval Office for 4 years. So, divisive, I don't think, no.
Okay.
I don't think the right wing is divisive as much as they are trying to present a more balanced side. And all you hear from Schumer and that bunch is screaming.
Right.
What's not divisive about their screaming? I don't know.
Right. Dennis?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't listen to them. So
the parroting from both sides could be considered divisive from both sides, I suppose, in a basic manner. However, like Phyllis said, their side likes to scream and say all kinds of crazy things, and most of it doesn't make any sense, at least not to people with common sense.
Right.
So maybe we do parrot our side of our views, our viewpoints from other outlets, whatever.
Right.
But it's not divisive. I mean, we're coming from the common sense side.
Right.
And I don't know how those people on the left can even think for a second that they have common sense, because I think that they honestly are just, because it's Trump, that they're just taking the opposite side.
Right. And I was going to bring that up. When we talk about divisive conservative rhetoric, I think what he really is trying to say is anything that Trump says or Trump does is bad. But
yeah.
Much like he made the accusation that Trump and the Trump administration has done nothing but lie. And I first came out and said, you know what? I haven't met a politician, and that includes Donald Trump, who has been 100% honest or has not bent the truth in one form or another. However, and we're gonna get into the second email, because basically he kind of regurgitated the same crap. Basically said that we had to be committed to open conversations. Hey, Lucas, if you're watching the show, you can come back on. We're open to open conversations. You're the person who decided to back away. You're the person who decided to you took the coward's way out, okay? That's what you did. You said thanks but no thanks, and we're going to get into that right now, because he reiterates the whole echo chamber crap again, and I'm over that part of it. So, moving on to the next one. He starts out with, I've given it some thought, and for my own sanity. Dennis, have you ever met a leftist that you could truly consider 100% sane?
I can't say I have, Mark.
Mom?
Well, no, most of the ones that actually talk to me, and there aren't that many, they have no interest in actually holding a conversation and listening to what you have to say, nor answering in a reasonable manner. What I have noticed on my emails or messages,
Responses in Facebook. Yeah.
responses on Facebook is that the ones that screamed the loudest and were the most vocal at being nasty to my comments have disappeared
Right.
since Biden has been shown to be a not real president, but a figurehead in the country being run by God knows who,
Right.
because nobody
Well,
wants to admit it.
next week we're going to get into some things that I came across on Instagram. I've got to do a little bit of research on it before I actually do, but it's pretty damning concerning Trump and the assassination attempts, and some of the things that I'm reading are a little on the disturbing side. So I need to do a little bit of my own deep dive to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so he carries on with, you have to understand where your logical progression is taking you, and that's no notion I want to go down and give my energy or waste my oxygen on. This is where I'm going to turn it over to Dennis. Trump is a convicted con man with a repugnant Heritage Foundation administration that literally echoes Goebbels. Now, you know who we're talking about with Goebbels, right?
Yep.
Would you care to respond to that one?
Well, the convictions, if I recall, are not being held up.
That would be right.
You can call him a felon all you want, but that's not the case.
What about the con man comment?
Well, I don't know. I would have to say I don't think so. I haven't heard anything that would resemble him being any kind of a con artist.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So one of the charges that he had was falsely claiming the value of property, and in order for fraud to take place, there has to be a fiscal victim.
Right.
The contention of the banks that the courts wouldn't even let come in and testify was there was no victimhood. He borrowed the money and he paid the money back plus the interest.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, he paid for Mar-a-Lago. He paid it off early. So where was the victim? And in order for a con to be perpetrated, doesn't there have to be a victim there?
There does.
Okay. So
and that judge saying that Mar-a-Lago's, and first of all, where does this judge come off? He doesn't have a real estate background.
Right.
How does he come off saying it's only worth $18 million? What?
Right. Well, not only that, but I'm gonna make you small again. Not only that, and Mom, I kind of want to get your take on the next thing that he said, because I know how you feel about this person. But I'm gonna wrap that up in a bow. Dennis and I followed that case to a degree fairly closely, and the fact of the matter is that judge did not want to listen to anybody that was a legitimate witness.
Correct.
And when you have a set of circumstances that look like that and smell like that and taste like that, hey, I hate telling y'all, if it looks like crap and it smells like crap and it tastes like crap, it's probably crap.
It ain't Cheerios.
Mom?
Yeah, that's about the way I saw it.
All right. So I'm going to start this next one. I'm not going to read what he said. I'm just going to ask you very simply, do you believe that Ilhan Omar has betrayed her oath of naturalization and her oath of being a congresswoman? Yes or no? And then you can expand on it if you want.
I believe she has definitely done exactly what she intends to do, which is, and it is betraying the oath to the American flag and country, because she herself says she's loyal to Somalia, not to the United States,
Okay.
which is betraying her oath of office.
And her
And
oath of,
she should be censored.
and her
Now-
naturalization.
And her
And the naturalization. Okay, so I'm gonna read this to you, and then I'm gonna let Dennis respond to this part of it. You fear Ilhan Omar challenging / rewriting the Constitution with the 3% of her constituents that have Somali descent and her 60% affluent white 5th district. And I'm going to just say this: the rest of it, justifying the Proud Boys, he couldn't even tell me what the Proud Boys stood for, so he can just kiss my butt because he doesn't even know what he's talking about. But the whole 3%, I have not done this research about the population, but the only reason she won that district is because of the Somalia population. So I think that he's lying about that. I'm not going to jump on my computer and cause our stream to go bad because of that, but I'm pretty sure that he is lying about that through his teeth. So if you're watching, Lucas, where's the facts? Show me the proof that that's accurate. Omar challenging / rewriting the Constitution. You know what? Good luck with that. The Constitution is not going to be rewritten by a bunch of leftist, communist, socialist pigs. That's my take. Dennis, what do you think about what he said about that?
I can tell you, I saw something the other day about Dearborn, Michigan.
Thank
I
God.
just looked it up on my phone. The population is 106,377. Now, from what I've been told, or what I heard the other day, I actually saw a post on Facebook interviewing somebody that was born and raised there. The whole one side of Dearborn is nothing but Muslim population. And I believe it's 50 to 60,000.
Right.
Is what I heard. So half of Dearborn basically is Muslim. So that should explain anyway, pretty simply how Ilhan and the mayor and all these people are getting elected. So now, which raises a good question, President Trump. Maybe we ought to look into that city a little closer and see how many of those are really legal.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. This is his next statement in this email. Standing stalwart about Trump never telling a lie. Okay, I never said that Trump never told a lie. I asked Lucas to give me give me just one example, one clear-cut example of where Trump has lied. And I didn't say that Trump didn't lie. I said that the other side has lied more than Trump about a lot of different things. And, you know, I'll go ahead and emphasize this point. Of the two presidents, the last two presidents, which one committed plagiarism, which forced him to withdraw from his first presidential run? Mom.
That would be Biden for.
Oh. So Biden cheated, and then instead of showing remorse for cheating, he showed remorse that he got caught. Dennis, you ever get caught cheating on a test?
Yeah, I think I have once or twice.
Did you feel bad that you cheated, or did you feel bad that you got caught?
I felt bad that I got caught.
Okay. And so that was a natural reaction for a man who is running for president. Hey, I feel bad. I don't feel bad that I cheated. I feel bad that I got caught cheating. Okay.
Well, now I feel bad. Nowadays, I feel bad that I cheated. But
right.
Yeah.
I mean, because you grow up and become an adult.
Right.
If you were to ask Biden even 15 years ago, before his dementia actually set in, he would probably tell you, no, I feel bad that I got caught, not that I necessarily cheated. If you want to start talking about the great replacement theory, then you should just do it and not skirt around the issue. Mom, can you explain to me what the hell the great replacement theory is? Because I don't remember even having a conversation about it, and I know that we have never brought up anything even remotely close to that on our show. What I will say we talked about was immigrants who come into this country and do not assimilate with the pre-existing values and cultures probably should go back to the culture that they came from, which means the country they came from. I do believe that that's what we talked about.
You're right. That's what is what we talked about. And I suppose what he's talking about, replacement theory, is bringing in as many immigrants, well, illegal aliens, as they could, and getting them illegal ways to vote so that the Democrats could be in power forever, which is what the whole thing is about.
Okay.
Yeah, to blow up the census.
Okay, that's what I was getting. Thank you, guys. Okay, so he's basically accusing us of not wanting any immigration based on that statement of the Great Replacement Theory. Here's my response, and I'm going to ask if you guys agree, yes or no. Lucas, we welcome legal immigrants that follow the laws with open arms as long as they assimilate to the pre-existing cultures and values and they bring something of value to the society at large. Yes or no?
Correct.
Okay, that's my answer to Lucas. Mom, you agree?
Right.
Okay. In addition to what you're talking about, it's about what you're not talking about. Now, this is where Lucas is just stupid. I hate saying it, but Lucas is stupid. And I'm going to tell you why Lucas is stupid. And I'll see if you guys agree with me. We only have an hour, and technically we have less time than that because our show is an hour long, right? We are not able to cover everything, and if he wanted to bring up subjects that he wanted to talk about, he could do that, and we would work around what he wanted to talk about also. Have we not done that from day one, where we have gone from one subject and then we've covered another subject and another subject? Am I right or am I wrong on that?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of an idiot thinks that we're going to be able to cover, let me see here, the Epstein files? Didn't we cover the Epstein files?
Yep.
So
I don't know why anybody's worried about them.
Well, yeah, but that's not the point. The point is he's bringing it up because he's a leftist socialist moron, and now I'm going to get really, really contentious here. He's a moron because he is refusing to acknowledge that if Trump's name was negatively involved in those files, his name is in the files. Nobody is denying that. But if he was a part of the criminal side of those files, the Democrats would have jumped all over it over the past 4 years because God knows they threw the kitchen sink at the guy over the past 4 years. So get off your high horse. Leave the Epstein files alone. You already know, and if you're an adult, you already know and understand that the people who are the criminals in that are going to walk. That the one person who is paying the price is Ghislaine Maxwell because Epstein killed himself or didn't kill himself, depending on who you talk to. So that's I'm done with the Epstein files. If someone brings the Epstein files up to me, it better be based on new information because I'll shut you down. We won't even have that conversation. All right, we're good. Lucas, you want to jump back on and bring up Epstein? I'm going to tell you, we talked about Epstein. You chose not to be on the show. There's that. Then he brings up the genocide of Gaza that Trump wants to, quote unquote, just take it. That was his exact words. Remember when he first got elected and he talked about, hey, we can turn Gaza into a beautiful resort?
Yep.
Okay. To build a resort on,
Yep.
and so now for the rest of this show, now I'm not even going to talk. I think we've done what we needed to do to deal with Mr. Lucas because I really wanted to hit the genocide. I'm going to let Dennis start, but before I let Dennis start, I'm going to bring up my trusty phone. The definition of genocide: the deliberate and systematic destruction of a racial, political, or cultural group. Dennis, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, first of all, what you just defined as genocide is not happening with Israel and Gaza. that so-called genocide is being portrayed by mainstream media, and in all actuality, it is Hamas using the citizens as human shields.
Good.
So there's that.
Okay.
Also, if you want to talk about a genocide, a true genocide, from what I've heard, the last number I heard, at least 500,000 Christians in Nigeria have been slain. And I don't know if that's how many years that is, but it's pretty recent
Okay.
from what I know.
Mom, I'm going to give you the floor with the genocide of Christians, and because you've had a chance to dig a little deeper. How many nations are we talking about that have actually been committing true genocide in that region? And I'm going to include not just Nigeria, but Africa and as far up as Syria, right?
Well, Syria, and I think it's probably going on in Turkey also. I know that the Christian communities are being decimated all over the Middle East in whatever country that they're in.
Okay, so Mom, I'm gonna follow that. Are they being uprooted and sent away, or are they being out and outright eradicated, a la Nazi Germany, virtual concentration camps, potential extermination camps, or are they just going through where they know they are and exterminating them outright?
Well, they're burning the churches for one thing.
Okay, but
and I would suspect probably if they're burning the churches, they're killing the people who are going to the churches.
Okay, so Lucas, I know you're probably not watching, and you can complain all you want, but that's what genocide looks like, Lucas. So you can bring up Gaza and you can bring up Trump. Let me tell you what I think of you right now. You are nothing more than a socialist that is also a person who has Trump derangement syndrome. That's what you are, and that's what you represent. You don't have a legitimate argument because your argument has already been posted again and again and again and again and again, and most people are tired of it. Hell, middle of the road Democrats are sick and tired of that crap also. Let me see here. The blue cities and states across the country to spur his dream of martial law. Okay. How many videos have you watched, Dennis, of what's gone on in Portland with Antifa, those disgusting street animals?
Oh, daily, multiple times daily.
And how has the local law enforcement responded?
They don't.
Or they arrest the people who are on the side of Antifa, believe it or not.
They just arrested an independent journalist. I think his last name's Sorter.
Yeah.
For even though he was the one going over and putting out an American flag that was on fire.
And he was assaulted.
And then he was assaulted, and then he got arrested.
Yeah. So, what? And I really wish he were on, because I would ask him, does he believe that the President of the United States has the authority to bring the National Guard to bear? I will answer that for everybody because I know it. He does. It is actually in Article 1 of the United States Constitution. His job is to ensure peace and tranquility so that the American people can pursue the American dream, which is what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you see an area and the local jurisdiction, governor of Portland, mayor of Portland, governor of Oregon, in Michigan, it's a sheriff who basically told his police officers to stand down while ICE was being shot at like it was virtually a war zone. Hey, guess what? When you're not if you're not able to do your job, or if you are not willing to do your job, or if you are blatantly not doing your job, what do you expect the federal government to do? because their job is to ensure peace, safety, and tranquility of the population. So, Mom, I'm going to turn that part of it over to you.
I'm not sure what the question is, because I think that what President Trump is doing is unfortunately the right thing, because these people are out of control and have been since I'm not sure when Antifa started in Portland, but that's when it should have been stopped, and it wasn't.
They've been around since Obama. So you're talking about at least 16 years. I started following them. There's a guy named Andy Ngo. I don't know if you guys
I know who you're talking about.
But Andy has been tracing them and following them and reporting on them and has been assaulted by them. In fact, we brought that up last week about, he says,
Andy.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, come on, remember, Lucas came right out and said, well, Antifa is not an organization. It's a movement. No, it started out as a movement, and we readily acknowledge that. It became an organization when it started getting funded. And it doesn't matter how they dress. They always are wearing some form of protection against gas. They're always wearing some form of body armor. That is a well-funded organization, and they're organized. If it doesn't take a genius to see when they can overwhelm local police jurisdiction the way they are able to outside of a federal building, that they know what they're doing. So, this whole argument about Antifa and about whether or not Trump is justified bringing the troops in, hey, newsflash, not only is he justified, but he's required by law to do so.
Hey, Mark.
He's following the law. Wait a minute, I'm already bent my knee to the MAGA movement.
Hey, Mark.
Let's go back to ancient history. They damn sure brought in the National Guard in 1914 to put down the miners' strike at Ludlow.
And even further back, the Whiskey Rebellion. The first president of the United States brought troops to crush the Whiskey Rebellion in Philadelphia. Go ahead, Dennis.
Hey, okay, before we get any further, this federal judge that's trying to block Trump from sending in the National Guard, the left is trying to invoke the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. So this is what I heard, and basically it prevents military personnel from acting as a posse or group of people assembled to enforce the law unless specifically authorized by Congress. 1878, it's called the Posse Comitatus Act. It's a federal law. This is what the federal judge is trying to impose upon the Trump administration right now.
I made a comment on it when it first popped up on Instagram. I just said ignore it because the Supreme Court has already ruled that he's within his jurisdiction to do what he's doing right now.
Well, how can anyone block the federal government from protecting a federal building?
Right.
You cannot do that.
Right. And this is all centered around whether or not martial law has been enacted. And the answer to that question is, in every place that they've sent troops, they have not sent. It has not coincided with martial law.
No.
And that is a very important distinction to make. If martial law, because see, this is what I was talking about last week when I said I think that the president is going down a slippery slope when it comes to Oregon, because Oregon has been out of control for so damn long that he's going to be forced to enact a martial law, and that's when he's going to run into problems. That was the slippery slope I was getting at. But our socialist doesn't want to have a conversation that goes that way. The socialist also doesn't want to acknowledge that I'm as critical of the president as I'm complimentary of the president. When I don't think he's doing something right, I'm going to say it, because I am not interested in being just a Trump person or a MAGA person. I don't care. I love my country. I love every state in my country. I don't like seeing what's going on in my country. And look, man, when you have a sheriff literally tell his officers to stand down when ICE radioed them, telling them that they were boxed in by 10 vehicles and that they were being actively shot at. You know what? Send in the troops, because that's what needs to happen.
That's not freedom of protest now.
Right. And look,
speech.
I'm going to be very honest with you guys, because there's this overwhelming belief that one side wants civil war and that the other side doesn't. I'm going to speak for myself. I don't want civil war at all. And I think that it's irresponsible, and I think it's irrational for anybody to bring it up, because civil war is going to just result in death after death after death. And isn't that what Trump is trying to prevent around the world?
Yep.
So there you go. Okay. I think we covered everything.
And to invoke martial law, you'd have to declare emergency, right?
Right. He has to declare a national emergency, and
right,
or he has to declare an emergency direct in the region.
Right.
Which, I mean, he isn't going to have justification. A couple of little points before we close out. He brought up Christian nationalism again, and that democracy as we know it is never mentioned in the Constitution. No, he's right. Christian nationalism isn't mentioned in the Constitution either, but the word democracy is nowhere in the Constitution. And in fact, the founders found democracy as a concept to be reprehensible, because it almost invariably ended in dictatorship and totalitarianism, which is not what the founders wanted, and it's not what we want. I'm going to read what I responded, and then we're going to close the show out. Next week, we are going to talk about this government shutdown. Next
2 weeks.
Oh, no, yeah, 2 weeks, because next week I'm not going to be I'm going to be in South Dakota. In 2 weeks, we're going to talk about the government shutdown. We're going to talk about some of the things that I've discovered about the Trump assassinations and assassination attempts, and that's what we're going to do for that. Meanwhile, I'm going to read my response. Lucas, having read this email proves one thing. People on your side only want compliance, not discussion. You talk about Trump being a liar, but you admit that Biden was caught plagiarizing, which is why he dropped out of one of his presidential runs. You talk about ICE, but refuse to acknowledge that these laws were Clinton era laws. I had to point that out. You spew statistics from blatantly biased sources. You know it, and I know it. I won't even dignify your conman convict comment with a response. However, you should probably look up Alan Dershowitz's comments about all of those cases. I will finish this email by simply saying this. You accused us of being an echo chamber. You are in a socialist echo chamber. Good luck with your show. Don't complain about ours.
Amen.
So, we can agree to disagree. We can move forward. Without Lucas here, we do lose an element, which I really think is a good element. That said, we're going to forge on. We're going to march on. We're going to soldier on. And anybody who wants to jump on that doesn't agree with us, you're welcome to join. We want people to come in and provide us facts that prove that the other side is on the right side of history, so to speak. Maybe change our minds, considering that Lucas wasn't willing to do that.
If you're a true believer of what Polis has done to Colorado, why don't you come on and tell us why? Because I'd really like to know.
Correct. All right. Yeah, we can talk about that too, because Derek Wolf, former Denver Bronco, was on the stage promoting another one of the gubernatorial governor guys running for governor, and he basically called Polis a coward.
Yep.
And so there you go.
That's rather a nice epithet.
Yeah, well, he was on. Okay,
It's got
in his
a lot
defense,
better.
he was on a stage and he was talking in public. So he was, he was doing good. All right.
Yeah, there's a couple of candidates that sound really interesting. I want to know more about them. There's
Right.
what's his name, Victor Marx.
Yep, that's who a Wolf is. That's who Wolf is endorsing.
He's
Victor Marx.
I'm kind of liking what I hear from him so far, but
Yep.
there are others to look into also.
Well, and the guy I met in Cripple Creek is pretty good. I could see those two guys running as running mates with lieutenant governorship on the line too.
Is that Bottoms or who was that?
Oh God, I got his card around here
There's
somewhere.
Bottoms, McBride, Mark.
I think McBride is the guy I was talking about.
Okay, yeah.
All right, guys, good show. Thank you guys for your input. I like the way I ran this one. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah. It's
I
good.
tried really hard to make sure that you guys had a floor, and that's how I'm going to do this from now on. Is I'm literally going to give you the entire stage, and we'll go from there.
Next time I'll wear a fancy hat.
Yes, please, by all means, do, Mom.
I'm gonna put on my tuxedo.
That sounds fantastic. I'm going to wear exactly what I'm wearing now, or something similar.
I forgot my Broncos jersey. I gotta put that on. They're playing right now.
I know. I haven't even seen the score. Don't tell me. I don't want
I'm
to
not
know.
gonna say nothing.
All right, guys.
All right. You guys
God
have a
bless
good
you all.
weekend.
God bless you all. God bless the United States of America.
Godspeed.
God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.